What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. The NFL draft has come and gone, and now the reactions and debating for the next 6 months until the first game are going to commence right now. John, are you ready to talk about the NFL draft? We have a lot of segments to go through, kind of hitting different points, biggest winner and loser, who nailed it, who failed it, biggest surprise. We got to do predictions, offensive rookie of the year, and defensive rookie of the year. And the last one, the very, very last one, you're going to want to stick around for it. Which rookie will make the biggest impact in fantasy football? So we're going to get to all that right now. But first, we're going to go with the biggest surprise. Each of us are going to go. John, you can start out with your biggest surprise of the NFL draft.
It was that J.C. Horn and Pat Surtain went to the Panthers and the Broncos, respectively. I am not surprised that they went this high. It did take a record 8 picks to get to our first defensive player, which obviously was a record in the NFL. But I'm just surprised that they went to those teams, because when we were doing our mock draft, we obviously checked out some other mock drafts. We were doing our own research, and we saw that Horn and Surtain were projected to go maybe to the Cowboys, maybe to the Chargers, maybe, at 10, maybe 12, 13. But we didn't really think that they were going to go to the Panthers or the Broncos. We thought that if Slater maybe fell to 8, the Panthers would take him. Or maybe if he fell to 9, the Broncos would take him. Or maybe one of them would trade back. We thought maybe, the Bears could come into the top 10. The Patriots definitely could come into the top 10. But none of that happened. So when the Panthers picked Horn, it kind of screwed us up. And we were like, whoa, Horn's a great player. We both think he's a great player. But wow, that we didn't think he was going to go there. And then the next pick, we thought it was going to be Slater or Micah Parsons. And the Broncos go with cornerback, and which was a little surprising. But I was just shocked by those picks. And it kind of screwed it up for the Giants, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But that was... Other than the Trey Lance and Jamar Chase, I think a big surprise was the Panthers and the Broncos. Those 8th and 9th pick really shook up the first round.
Yeah, I want to touch on that because in the mock drafts, it felt like to me Surtain was going to be the first cornerback taken.
Right.
Even though J.C. Horn was gaining some ground, I thought Surtain was going to be the first one. And it's funny, after the Bengals pick, I left my living room, went upstairs to make a TikTok about the Bengals pick because I had disagreed with it. And, it took me a couple minutes and like a couple picks passed. And I go back down and I'm like looking at the thing, and J.C. Horn is like not one of the best available. Like, where did he go? So I'm like trying to rewind my TV, like figure out where he went. And I'm like, Carolina. Like, of all places, Carolina. And then I watched the next pick, and it was Surtain. I'm like, what is going on? The Broncos don't even need a cornerback. Like, it was the craziest, chain of events that was happening. I was like, I thought he was at least Horn was going to drop to the Chargers.
Right.
I thought that if one of the receivers dropped to the Chargers, they might think about drafting him. But once Chase got picked, you knew that it was going to be impossible for any, we wanted Devontae Smith to go to the Giants, and we'll talk about it later. But you knew once Chase got picked that all the receivers were going to be off the board.
It was just a free for all. Like, everybody get up to get a receiver.
It's kind of like, the Chase pick and the Horn pick. I feel like the Broncos kind of just were like, all right, we need to get the best available.
Yeah.
We need to get the best available player, and that's Patrick Surtain. Get him off the board.
Yeah.
But didn't look at needs. We talked about it before, like Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, they both got picked up by the Broncos, signed Justin Simmons to a long-term deal, and your first pick is a cornerback.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. But, yeah, that was a big surprise. My biggest surprise was Travis Etienne getting taken, the running back out of Clemson, 25th pick by the Jaguars. Now, I really like Travis Etienne because he's with that new age of running backs. He can catch it in the backfield and he can run it, very physical running back. Like, he really has it all. Um, but I think there were more urgent needs that needed to be addressed for the Jags when you're trying to rebuild a team. You don't really think about, oh, we need to get an all-star running back. And they actually have an elite running back in James Robinson. He had a phenomenal year. Who knows if he'll have a great year this year? But why ruin a relationship with James Robinson by drafting ETN in the first round? Like it seems like more of a top 10, top 5 team pick where, oh, our defense is set, our offensive line is set. Let's start getting some skill players. I think
Right.
that would make sense. But to draft the running back with your first pick really didn't make sense. Like you saw the Jets with their 2 first picks, they got their quarterback, but then they protected him, got an offensive line. I think that would have been more urgent for them to do. I did want to talk about Urban Meyer, though. His comments on this pick were a little worrisome. So I don't know exactly what he said, but along the lines of, oh, we really wanted Kadarius Toney. Toney is a once in a generation player. Like he's hyping up Toney. He's like, but we got ETN, so I guess it's okay. Like he was a second
Yeah.
option. Like John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that was definitely not the right thing to say when you pick 25th and you're saying, oh, we really would have liked to get Tony. We're, not happy that we missed out on him. Doesn't make ETN feel all that well. That's like, saying, oh, we didn't really want you, but you were a second option. So, you're good enough, like that's not how you treat your running back,
It's bad because you piss off James Robinson by drafting Travis Etienne, and then you piss off Travis Etienne by saying he wasn't your pick. Like
So nobody's happy now.
nobody's happy.
Now, the only reason I would like the ETN pick is because of how Urban Meyer is known to run his offense. We saw him at Ohio State. He likes the Ezekiel Elliott, like the James Robinson, pound it down the middle, but he also likes those gadget players. And I think that's why he liked Kadarius Toney, guys you could get in space. And we saw him, remember, at Ohio State with Curtis Samuel, a shifty guy. He could play slot. He could also bring him in the backfield and give him a carry. He could bring him on motion. And I think that's the idea he had in mind with ETN. And not only is he a great player in that sense, he's not as quick as Toney. That's probably why he would rather have Toney. But he also loved ETN because it would give a sense of comfort to Trevor Lawrence. Like, what do you feel about that? They draft Trevor Lawrence, and now you have ETN, who was his running back all throughout college. I mean, for Lawrence, that's got to make him feel comfortable, having a guy he knows behind him. How many times have he handed it off and thrown it to him? Over 1,000 times, So that's the only reason why I would like to pick, is because he runs this offense with 2 running backs and a gadget player, kind of like ETN, and also gives Lawrence the comfortability.
Yeah, it seems like everyone was getting a big reunion with their quarterbacks. Good
Yeah.
Lord. There was Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, then Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, then Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts, Tua with Jalen Waddle. Like, doesn't even matter if he's a good player. They're just like, are you friends with him? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll draft him.
Do you have his number saved in your phone? All right,
Yeah.
we'll draft him. Like, why
As
are you?
long as the quarterback wants him and is friends with him, we're good to go. I haven't
Yeah.
even watched any film.
I don't. I
So
don't. Yeah, as long as they get along. Uh,
I guess that's a new age of football. But
yeah.
moving on. So we have a little segment. It's called Nailed It or Failed It. And I'm going to give John 2 teams. He's going to give me 2 teams. We're going to tell you if they nailed the draft or they failed it. So, John, with this first one, we kind of touched on just a little bit, but the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, before I say whether you nailed it or failed it, we had Penei Sewell getting picked because we felt like an offensive line was much needed for the Bengals offense. Granted, Joe Burrow is, recovering from a broken leg. They did pick up 2 offensive linemen in free agency, and they drafted some offensive linemen, I think, in the second round. So they did address it. So after our initial reactions of just being shocked and pissed off, did the Bengals nail the draft or did they fail it?
The Bengals nailed this draft so well. I love the Bengals draft. I know you're going to hate me for this. I know I laughed so hard when you posted the TikTok, and anybody who hasn't seen the TikTok, Jared was had his one of his legs up on the bed on a few pillows, and he said that he showed Jamar Chase getting picked, and then he showed him on the bed and said, "This is what Joe Burrow looks like," and he has his hands up like, "What the heck? You're not protecting my leg, you know?"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I know I commented, it was one of the top liked comments, but basically I said, well, there goes his other leg.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got a kick out of that. And right away, when they first picked Chase, I was shocked because I thought they were going to pick Penei Sewell. We had them in our mock draft picking Penei Sewell because they did need an offensive line. Oh, you can't let Burrow get hit all the time. But like I said in our mock draft, Jamar Chase is the best player in this draft. Offense, defense, wide receiver, quarterback, linebacker, anybody in the draft. I told you guys in our mock draft, Jamar Chase is the best receiver in this draft. He's the best player in this draft. And I'll never knock somebody for getting the best player in the draft. Now, the reason why I agree with them, so not only is Jamar Chase the best receiver in this draft, but he's super fast. He ran like a 4.39 at the combine or at his pro day. He has great hands adjusting to the ball downfield. He's fantastic, a great receiver. He just jumps off the page when you watch him. Not only that, but the offensive line class in this draft was known to be very deep. You had two great ones in Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, and then you had a lot of great talent, but a lot of second round talent and a lot of deep, players. Now, the Bengals did sign two offensive linemen, like you said, in the offseason. And I love their first pick in the second round, which was the 14th pick in the second round, Jackson Carman from Clemson. He was a tackle, and he can move to guard if you need him to. And I love that. Get Chase, get the best player in the draft. Not only is he the best receiver, you pair him back with Joe Burrow, who, when they played together the previous season, I know Chase opted out last year, but in 2019, Burrow and him connected for 20 touchdowns. They won the national championship. Burrow set all kinds of records, and Chase was the top receiver, his primary target. And it's just an amazing pick. I love the pick. Chase, when he was at LSU in 2019, he won the award for best receiver in college football, and then he opted out last year. So I think the Bengals nailed this pick, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say after I gave all those reasons.
It's hard to argue with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
anyone who picks him, it's like he could be a generational talent, Antonio Brown like player, and could set you up as a number one receiver for years and years and years. Like Burrow and Chase could be teammates for 10 years, or they could be teammates for like 4 years and he leaves. But I think I would say they nailed it because that second round pick, they addressed it. And then they also got another guy.
Right.
And they had two free agency things. So it's not like they didn't address the problem. I think they did it to the best of their ability in free agency and in the draft while still maintaining Jamar Chase and pairing him up with Joe Burrow. And look, I mean, you can't say it's a bad pick when your quarterback's happy. Like you see so many teams, look at Aaron Rodgers. He's unhappy in Green Bay. Like it's so hard to keep those top tier quarterbacks happy,
Mm-hmm.
and it to keep Joe Burrow happy is good, but then to pair it and say, oh yeah, my best friend and college teammate is Jamar Chase, so he's also the best wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. I gotta ask you about the Giants
Okay.
because you were pissed off when Jamar Chase went off the board because then you knew Waddle and Smith were going
I
to be
knew it.
gone like that.
Yep.
So the Giants end up picking up Kadarius Toney. They also got Aziz Ojolari, bunch of other people I kind of forgot, but you'll know them. So with the Giants, they did trade back and get a first round pick for next year. Genius. So with all that being said, did the Giants nail it or did they fail it?
The Giants nailed the draft, but I
Oh,
would give, if I had to give them a grade, I would give them an A minus. Now, I can't really just look at the players they took and give them a solid grade without watching the draft and knowing what happened, because they did net another pick, another first round pick next year from the Chicago Bears, and a third round pick from Miami. So let me take you through my thoughts on the Giants draft and why I give them an A minus, and why I was originally pretty unhappy, but now I am not as unhappy. I'm giving them an A.
For
So
now.
obviously Chase goes off the board at 5 to the Bengals, and I'm pretty mad because that screws everything up. Now we thought that Chase was going to go to the Dolphins. Now we know the Dolphins are going to get Waddle, and now there's only Devonta Smith. Like he's got to last until 11, and we knew that probably wasn't going to happen. So it gets all the way to 8, and Horn gets picked. Okay, fine. Now 9 comes and Stan gets picked, and I'm like, oh shit, he was supposed to go to the Cowboys. Now what are the Cowboys going to do? So the Cowboys are like, all right, we don't need Surtain is off the board, so we don't really need, like, we could take Parsons here, but we don't really like super need like a linebacker, and we might be able to get him with a later pick. And now the Eagles are calling, and they're like, we need to get ahead of the Giants because the Giants are going to pick Devonta Smith if he goes one more pick. So the Eagles, being, the mean people that they are, trade right in front of the Giants, give up a third round pick to the Cowboys, and they go get Devonta Smith. Now, all credit to the Eagles. If I was the Eagles fan, I would be super happy. You need a receiver, and you just got one of the best in the draft. Now, from a Giants fan, I'm super pissed off because I wanted one of the top receivers. I still think the Giants are a great receiver away from really contending for in the NFC. I don't think that now. So then the Giants come up at 12. Now all 3 top receivers are gone. We could take Micah Parsons at 11, but we also don't. We could use a linebacker, but it's not our primary need. So instead, the Bears get on the phone. They say, we'll give you a first round pick next year, a 4th round pick next year, a 5th round pick this year for this pick and the 20th pick. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. Because if we weren't going to get one of the top 3 receivers, this is the next best option. Get another first round pick for next year, another 4th round pick for next year. And I'll explain why in a second. So we go all the way back, we get to 20, and we pick Kadarius Toney. Now here is where I'm giving the Giants an A- instead of an A. Now it's nothing against Toney. Toney's a great player. He's the quickest guy I've ever seen. He's not very fast, and he doesn't make many great catches, but he's definitely the quickest guy and has the best first step out of anybody I've seen on film. But he reminds me of a Tavon Austin type of guy, a kind of guy you use in gadget formations, kind of like a Cole Beasley. And I didn't think that was worth the first round pick. I would have much rather had Rashad Bateman at that pick. He's an awesome player, an outside guy. Kadarius Toney is an inside guy, and we already have Sterling Shepard for the slot. So why not get Rashad Bateman for the outside? He can also move into the slot.
I know a lot of people were saying they didn't want Bateman because you just picked up Galladay, and they're kind of similar players.
They are similar players, but Galladay missed 11 games last year. So, okay, so let's say Galladay gets hurt again. Now you're going to play with 2 slot guys, Toney and Shepard. Now you don't have anybody to play on the outside. I think getting the outside guy is more important, especially in this day and age. Toney is going to be great in short yardage, getting quickness, separation quick right away, But if we're looking for a guy to go on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, Toney's not going to be the guy. I'm sorry. He's just too small. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough. He's just quick, So that's where I give the A-. Now we get to the 2nd round. We have the 11th pick in the 2nd round, and we actually trade back. And I love the trade back because the Dolphins come up, trade with us, give their 18th pick in the 2nd round this year, and also their 3rd round pick next year. And not only that, but we wait until the 18th pick in the 2nd round, and we get Azeez Ojulari, arguably the best pass rusher in this draft. Now, he could use some fine-tuning here and there, but he has a great first step, fast guy, and it addresses a need that we had, which was edge rusher. And then we get Aaron Robinson, the slot cornerback. So I think all in all, it was a nailed it. I would say A- because we did get a receiver. I think that was the right position at 20, although I would have rather had Bateman. I like Toney there. And not only that, the biggest thing, it sets up flexibility. And what I mean by flexibility is that it gives us a first round pick next year, a third round picks next year, and then the trade back in the second round or whatever, they give us a fourth round pick for next year. So now this is the year for Danny Dimes to figure it out. After this season, we're going to know if Danny Dimes is the future or if he's not. And if he's not, guess what? We have 2 first round picks that we could easily trade up to go get a top quarterback. Maybe it's Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. Maybe it's another guy that emerges. So it gives us extraordinary flexibility next year. If we're like, okay, Galladay is getting hurt too much, Tony is too small, Shepard's getting hurt too much, we need more firepower, we can go and trade up for a wide receiver. We can pick a wide receiver in the first round and a linebacker. So I think that's the biggest thing. It gives us flexibility. We might push for the division this year. We're not going to compete in the NFC, but next year, after next year's draft, we're going to really hit our stride. And this year, we're going to learn a lot about the New York Giants. So now I want to ask you 2 nailed it or failed it questions.
Hopefully someone failed it, because so far it's been nailed it and nailed it.
Let's see. Let's see if anybody fails it. We briefly touched on this team earlier. They drafted a cornerback with their first pick.
Nailed it.
The Denver Broncos, did they nail it or fail it?
They failed it. Like, not even they got like a 64 and like they got like a 20 out of 100. Like, it was bad.
They really failed it. Do they have to get their parents to sign the paper before they return to class?
Yeah, dude, they have to have a meeting with like the principal. Like, it's bad. Like,
oh shit.
It's really bad. They got
Tell me, what happened? What did they mess up?
Well, it's pretty bad when you mess up your first 2 picks. It's kind of hard to recover from that, because then, you get your first round pick over, then your second round pick, and now what are you left with? So the first pick, they get Patrick Surtain at cornerback. Great cornerback, but they signed Kyle Fuller in the offseason. They also signed Ronald Darby in the offseason. They also signed Justin Simmons to a long-term deal.
What the heck do you need a cornerback for?
What do you need dude, this guy's going to be wasted talent just sitting on the bench. Like, he may come in a couple times a game, but like, if your first pick besides quarterback, they better be starting game 1, week 1, and playing the whole season, or else you didn't improve. Second, the second round pick was a running back. You know how I feel about running back. I just talked about Travis Etienne. Like, what they have Melvin Gordon. What is with this 2 running back system? It's not that important. It really is not that important at all. Like, the Chiefs won with freaking Damian Williams or whatever his name is. Like,
exactly,
unknown guys. So it's not important. The least, like, I was telling John before, as a GM, an owner, you all have a meeting with the team and you're like, okay, we're getting ready for the draft, guys. So what's one position that you feel comfortable with? Everyone in unison should have been like, the secondary.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we can exit off. And like, any secondary player, Patrick Surtain, JC Horn, we'll leave him for somebody else.
Right.
And let's look at, receivers. Let's look at quarterbacks. Let's look at whatever. But no, they picked Surtain. Then they get a second try. Who's probably our best player on the Broncos right now? On offense, probably Melvin Gordon.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what is the need for another running back? Like, I'm shocked.
What gets me is that, you remember last year they had Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they let Phillip
Lindsay. Didn't work.
Yeah, they let Phillip Lindsay go. So why do you bring in Williams? Like I don't understand.
Dude, and James Robinson going undrafted and then being the best rookie running back just shows that it's all about the line. If your line is great, then you're going to have a great running back. So with that, I think they failed it so bad. They could have went in so many different directions, but it feels to me that they didn't improve an inch. Like, you can't say they improved. They either went back or they were steady, and I think they were just steady.
Right. I think, if anything, they just stayed steady.
it was just a total blunder with the first pick, and then that second round pick with the North Carolina running back. Look, these two are great players, but this is like the reason a lot of players like don't make it, or they don't become the big players that they were supposed to be, is because they get drafted to these not bad teams, but teams that they're not supposed to be in.
Right.
Like Surtain going to like, I don't know, like the Broncos, or sorry, the Cowboys would have been so much better. He would have been starting week 1, their primary corner, and
Right.
he would probably become a shutdown corner probably within 3 years. But now, when is he going to play? Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Justin Simmons. I know they got like Brian Callahan. Like there's so many other players.
Right.
What was the point? So I think they failed it big time.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of last year's draft with the Packers. The first pick, they get Jordan Love, quarterback. They
Mhm.
obviously don't need a quarterback. Rodgers won an MVP. Second pick, they get a running back. They already had Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. So it's like how stupid can you be? Come on. And
It's
not only did they pick Javonte Williams like third pick in the second round, they traded up to get him.
Yeah, that doesn't make
So
sense. Like there's no why are you so urgent to get a running back? And this look, I know I'm really, really high on Chris Evans, but Chris Evans went in the 6th round. That was the type of talent that was still in the 6th round at the running back position. So you could have easily sat back
oh
and
yeah.
gotten a much more versatile player, because I'm not too familiar with the North Carolina guy's game, but I'm pretty sure he's just straight, north south back, not really a receiving back. And Melvin Gordon isn't a receiving back. So, I mean, he can be, but he's pretty elite running back. So I can't really compare him to. But if anything, you're going to get a backup that can receive in the backfield.
And speaking of that division, I want to ask you about one of your teams, the Los Angeles Chargers. Did they nail this draft or did they fail it?
Not only did they nail this draft, they perfected it to a
Ooh,
T.
okay.
First pick, Slater, Northwestern offensive lineman. That was our number one need.
Yep.
Protect your young quarterback. For any GMs listening, if you get an elite rookie 2nd-year quarterback, you protect the hell out of him. You get that line as fast as possible so he doesn't pull an Andrew Luck and
Yeah.
retires in his 5th year. So,
Yeah.
so I was like, great. And this guy was supposed to go like way earlier. He was supposed to go to the Panthers
Yeah.
in our mock draft. He falls all the way down to us, Slater. And we're like, oh my God, like, what's up, man? Like, you dropped all the way back here.
What's up?
Bring it in.
What's up?
Like, it was just great. So it was like, all right, boom, that's done.
Yep.
Now our focus, laser focus on cornerback. Got rid of Casey Hayward, an all pro cornerback. One of the top corners that I had, Asante Samuel Jr. And the main reason is his dad is Asante Samuel. So
Yeah.
you can't like
This is like you can't mess this up.
yeah, like I don't know. I mean, it's like it's amazing that these two players drop back so far to
I
us,
know. It's
and
amazing.
no
Like
trade ups.
you didn't like right. You didn't have to trade. It would just all like fell perfectly
Yeah,
into your hands. Like
like we played it so well because we didn't do anything. We just sat back and we're like, all right, let's wait for some team to pick a fucking cornerback
like
when they already have a cornerback.
let
Oh,
everybody else pick players that they don't need, and we'll
yeah.
just wait.
Like if teams were smart, Slater would have been off the board quick.
Oh
But
yeah,
literally, they both those players fell right to us. And then after that, I don't even care. I mean, I think we got a receiver, maybe a tight end. I don't even know, to be honest with you, because those two picks, they're gonna start right away. It's
yeah,
like that's the crazy thing is like Samuel is probably the best slot corner, and he's going to
Oh yeah.
play right away. And guess what, man? Derwin James is back. It's like everything is finally aligning. Joey Bosa, and we got,
This
dude, if I don't want to make an early prediction because I'm really high on Chargers right now, but they can compete for the division. I'm telling you, they
I
can.
really think I think they can. I definitely think I think we would both agree this is a pretty bold prediction, but I think it's one we're both willing to make that the Chargers will have the top wild card spot in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Look, it's hard to argue on paper when you have so many of those players. And I think that's been the thing every single year is you look on paper, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr. Now you got Asante Samuel Jr. You have a line now. It's like, how do you not win?
Yeah, very great draft. One of the few teams to actually draft their needs, and that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to go to our biggest winners and biggest losers of the NFL draft. And I know you probably could tell, but the Chargers were one of my biggest winners, so I won't talk too much about them. But the Cleveland Browns were
Okay.
my big winner. So they're a playoff team. They won a game. They killed the Steelers. So you think, in my head, you need solid backups slash like I mean, they had late picks in the first round, late pick in the second round. I didn't think they were gonna get good guys. But with that first pick, Greg Newsome, they got the cornerback out of Northwestern who was, top 4, top 3 borderline cornerback. That's a
Mhm.
great pick because Greedy Williams, who was picked 2 years ago, last year, he's been dealing with injuries and he's always in and out of the lineup. And this is a guy that can come in and give you that security that you're going to have a, you know, near Pro Bowl cornerback coming in, future Pro Bowler coming in to back up Greedy if those injuries continue. And then this maybe the story of the draft was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah dropping so far back.
Yeah.
Um, he falls into the hands of the Browns. So you get two players that could arguably be top 15, top 20 players of the draft. And they got him late first round, and then Koramoah went like third or fourth round. So I think for that, they were the biggest winners because you already have a playoff team, and then you add two top 15, top 20 players. I think that's a win for them.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Everything you said. Newsome picking him 26th in the first round. He could have went earlier. And then we were texting through the draft and we were shocked that Owusu Koromoa was dropping that far. We thought it was possible that the Giants could pick him at 20th
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
And he ended up going 20th in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So it was crazy. It ended up being that there was some heart issue that people were concerned about, but Thumper, he's a great downhill hitter from Notre Dame, and we're super excited to see him play. And I agree. I think they definitely nailed it. They had a great draft. But my biggest winner, clear, I think it's super clear who the biggest winner of this draft is. And it's the New York Jets playing in the same stadium as my New York Giants. I think the New York Jets were the biggest winner of the draft. I think they had the best draft of anybody. So first, you get your franchise quarterback, Zach Wilson, great kid, nice kid from BYU, awesome guy, second overall pick. Everybody knew it was going to happen. Then you have all this draft capital. What do? You see Elijah Vera Tucker drop to the 14th pick overall. You trade with the Cardinals, get back into the top 15, and you draft Elijah Vera Tucker, like we were talking about, protect that rookie quarterback, that first, second year quarterback. And they did just that, protecting Zach Wilson. It's definitely something they needed, fortify that offensive line. Not only that, my sleeper of the draft, which I mentioned when we did our mock draft, was Elijah Moore. He didn't get picked on day one, which was surprising. We thought he could definitely go in the first round. He goes to the second pick in the second round to the New York Jets. He's a great slot receiver. If you watch his tape, you just love it. So not only you get Zach how much happier can you be if you're Zach Wilson? You get an all-pro guard that is going to be a starter there for 10 years. You drafted Mekhi Becton last year. Now this offensive line is starting to come into form. You got Corey Davis in the offseason. You got Denzel Mims on the other side. You got Elijah Moore in the middle in the slot. And then in the fourth round, with your second pick in the fourth round, you go with Michael Carter, a running back who you need a running back, and he was a great one from North Carolina. So I think the Jets nailed it. They surrounded Wilson with all the pieces, something that they didn't do to Sam Darnold when he was a Jet. You could tell that with the defensive mind of Saleh, they're going to figure it out on the defensive end. It's all about getting this offense to score points in this tough defensive division of the AFC East. What do you think about the Jets?
Nailed it 100%. Every pick that they made, you're expecting them to screw it up.
Yep.
And every pick was, oh dang, that's a good player. Every reaction I had to it was, oh, that's a good pick. Like,
yeah,
every player. So I don't know if they got a new freaking draft player analysis guy, but everybody that they picked, man. Woo, I had that exact three, like, get Zach Wilson, protect him, get a receiver for him. It's like, boom, done. Like,
done.
What? So I can't argue with that. They got an A+. Biggest losers of the draft. So I had two, and one was the Texans. Now, they're already losers before the draft.
I mean, we already know they're going to be the worst team in the league next year. It's already guaranteed. They could go, they could go without winning a game the whole year.
Yeah, if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, it's going to get ugly. So then to add to that, your star quarterback may be out for the season, if not more. You don't have a pick until the third round.
You don't pick until like the 70th overall pick.
You don't pick until 3 years from now. It was just, when they showed up they were on the clock. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was an organization.
Yeah.
So to make it worse, your freaking star quarterback's going to be out. So they have to draft a quarterback just to freaking have one.
You have to have somebody playing.
Somebody has to pass the ball.
Yeah.
So David Mills, who I think is a great quarterback, but a third round quarterback can only be so good. So that was just a loss because he had to go quarterback. And then the second pick was Nico Collins, which I respect. Nico Collins is one of my sleeper picks. He's going to be a great receiver. I'm sorry that you have to deal with this quarterback situation. I wish you could have gone to the freaking Buccaneers and had Tom Brady, but it's the cards you were dealt. But I think they're the big losers because I thought last season they were one of the worst defenses out there. So I thought defense. Like, I don't even care if every single pick is defense. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to do it. And they couldn't. They just physically couldn't. And they picked a tight end, Brevin Jordan from Miami. I thought that was a useless pick.
Oh yeah, it's just like, completely like, I don't understand why you're the worst team in the league, or you're about to be the worst team in the league, and you draft all offense with your first three picks. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
I think they don't even care anymore. Like, I think it's on simulation, and they're just getting
sim to 10 years.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
And Madden is just taking over, and they're like, "Who doesn't matter? We're screwed anyway."
They're trying to trade for first round picks, but they don't have any capital. Like,
Yeah,
there's no one that anyone wants.
right.
So they were a big loser. And then the next one was the Packers. A lot of people disagreed with me. And I think it is mainly because of this first pick. They picked a cornerback instead of a receiver for Aaron Rodgers. Now, if you're living under a rock, I'll give you a brief summary. Basically, Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. And no one really knows why, but he's just pissed off at the ownership. So the story comes out on draft day. And if I'm the Packers, dude, I'm trading up to get Jamar Chase. Like
Oh yeah, sell out. Let's get the
I'm
best
literally
player in
like,
this draft.
he's literally the MVP. So
Dude, if you got Jamar Chase, that would be enough to entice Rodgers to
right,
come back.
like you have not picked a first round receiver in God knows how long. And last year you slap him in the face and pick a quarterback. And
And then a
people thought
running
he
back.
forgot. People thought he forgot, and he that didn't affect him. But time goes on, and slowly but surely, he just maybe kept his mouth shut, and now he just can't keep it shut anymore. But in my head, if you sit back and you wait for your pick a receiver, do something on
Yeah,
offense. I don't care if you got torched in the NFC Championship. Aaron Rodgers wants to leave your team. Like,
right.
you do everything in your power to say, dude, we just got Elijah Moore, we just got Ronald Moore, we got Bateman, whatever, any receiver to say, look, we're giving you weapons. Like, you don't want to leave this team.
Right.
And they're like, corner. We pick a corner. We pick freaking Eric Stokes from Georgia. If you're gonna pick a corner to try and get Aaron Rodgers to stay your team, pick the best one available.
Yeah.
He was not the best one available. He was like the ninth, 10th best cornerback.
Yeah.
And Asante Samuel Jr., Aaron Robinson from UCF, both great slot corners, much better, much higher rated than Eric Stokes. And you settle for Eric Stokes. So, like, I think Aaron Rodgers at this point in time he's expressed his frustrations, and every time they've gone back and just slapped him in the face. I mean, like,
Right.
we don't really care, you know?
Exactly. And I think that on the contrary, devil's advocate argument would be, well, why do we need to give him another receiver? He just won the MVP. Like, why do we need a receiver? But I heard that last season the Packers had a wide receiver, Jake Kumaro. And there was one game where I think Devontae Adams was hurt and Kumaro came in and Rodgers threw a touchdown to him, threw a couple passes to him. And after the game, he praised Kumaro. He was like, all right, this, great job stepping up by Jake, Kumaro. He's going to be great when Adams is not here. That week, the Packers released Kumaro, dropped him from the lineup, to cut him, told him he's done. That, I heard, was the final straw of Rodgers is now done. And I think that tells me this is irreversible. It's over. It's gone. It's done. Rodgers, after going on Jeopardy, he knows he's seen Brady go to another team, force himself out, go to another team and have success. He's gone to Jeopardy. He has all the money he needs. He knows that he doesn't need the Packers. The Packers need him more than he needs the Packers. And the bad part about the Packers is that the longer you wait, the less draft capital and the less players you're going to get. Because if Rodgers says, I am not playing for you no matter what, then you're going to have to trade for less picks, less good players. Like if you're going to trade him to the Broncos, they'll give you maybe Bradley Chubb and maybe a first round instead of like 3 first rounds and Chubb and somebody else. So it's just hurting the Packers at this point, and I think it's all but over. It's only a matter of time before he goes to the same division as Mahomes.
That's a great story. I didn't know that. I think it's definitely not just like one thing and he's pissed off. It's just like a chain of events that he's had to deal with over the course of maybe 3 years, like it's just been a frustrating time because everyone wants to get back to the Super Bowl that they won, and they can't get past this NFC championship. They can't even get to the playoffs. So it is a frustrating time when you have an MVP caliber quarterback, yet you can't get to the Super Bowl. So
Right.
it's frustrating for Aaron Rodgers, but it's also frustrating for the ownership because you're trying to figure out what the heck's going wrong. And to make it worse, Tom Brady joins the NFC and just absolutely runs through the whole playoffs and wins the Super Bowl in his first year. Like, he makes Drew Brees retire, and now he's about to make Rodgers retire.
He's gonna make Rodgers go to the AFC.
Yeah.
Brady takes over the AFC, and then he goes to the NFC and shoos everybody away.
Dude, that's why. He's like, dude, I tried to beat him this year. I can't. I'm leaving. Like, I'm not trying anymore, man. I can't.
I know I'm not going to be able to.
I'm no Phillip Rivers. I can't be losing to this team every single year. Like,
yeah. I think one last point I want to make before I say my biggest losers, that I think what frustrated Rodgers the most, like you said, they just could not get to the Super Bowl. And we talked about, they drafted with their last 9 drafts. Their first round pick has been a defensive player 8 times. And the only time it was an offensive player was the backup Jordan Love, quarterback.
Isn't that crazy?
So Rodgers is saying, I'm the MVP. I'm throwing all these touchdowns. You're drafting all these defensive players, and you still let the 49ers run 300 yards on us. And you still let Brady throw all these touchdowns against us. How could I not get any help on offense? You're taking all the picks for defense, and it's still not good. What's going on?
Yeah, people were saying in the comments.
So I think that's
people were saying in the comments about one of our TikToks about Rodgers. We have Lazard, we have Valdez-Scantling, but all these wide receivers are only good because Rodgers is there.
Exactly.
If they went anywhere else, they'd be below average receivers. Yeah. So why not go for a top tier receiver from the draft and see what happens? Devontae Adams has turned out to be one of the top receivers in football, and he wasn't even a first round pick.
Right.
So imagine having an elite talent right out the gate as a rookie with Rodgers.
Oh my gosh.
Seems like a no-brainer. Like, just try it.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. Talked about it for too long.
Yeah. All right. So my biggest loser of the draft, I have one. I think they just completely just destroyed this draft. Horrible picks were the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, why?
And I'm going to give you some reasons for this. Over in the offseason, Drew Brees retires. He's done. So now it's going to be Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. What did we talk about if you have a young quarterback, or, Jameis Winston isn't young, but he's trying to reinstate himself into this league. Taysom Hill is relatively young as a passer. We said protect him and get him people to throw to. Now the Saints, they already have a great offensive line. All right, so who does he have to throw to? Michael Thomas was injured all last year. Now he's healthy. You have him. Who else do you have? Emmanuel Sanders? No, he left. He's on the Bills now. So why don't you get a receiver, not one of the top 3 guys, maybe an Elijah Moore, maybe a Rashad Bateman, maybe a Rondale Moore, maybe Kadarius Toney.
Any of the Moores.
Literally any of the Moores, any Moore receiver. Just get And so with their first pick, they go Peyton Turner, the 28th pick, which I don't completely hate because they did lose Trey Hendrickson. So they could have used a D end. I still would have rather have a receiver there. But then with their second pick, they get a linebacker, Pete Werner. Don't you have Demario Davis as a linebacker? Don't you have guys as linebackers? Why don't you get a receiver at that point? And then not only that, but they trade up in the 3rd round and get a cornerback. Don't you have? Aren't the Saints known for their top 5 defense? Last year, even when Brees was hurt and we were all Michael Thomas hurt all this, they were still winning games. They were still 12-4 at the end of the season. is because their defense was so good. So you go D end, linebacker, cornerback. With your fourth pick, you pick Ian Book from Notre Dame. So you don't even get any offense. Then you get an offensive lineman in the sixth round, which you already have a good offensive line. And then you get a South Alabama receiver who is a seventh round pick and he'll never play. So, I mean, are you guys planning on scoring any points next year or no? So I just think it was just horrible, absolutely horrible.
That's some great reasons. I can't even argue with that. I honestly I forgot Emmanuel Sanders left. You
Yep,
and Jared Cook went to the Chargers.
exactly. So your two top pass catchers last year, because Michael Thomas didn't really play,
Kamara.
they're gone,
You have
and
Kamara, and that's it.
it's literally Kamara. He's gonna
Whoever
have to
picks
do.
up Kamara this year, record number of fantasy points for Kamara.
Oh yeah, Kamara is he's gonna get the more volume than anybody else, more touches than anybody else.
Let's move on to more specific players. Which QB will be the last to start? Which rookie quarterback will be the last to start? Now, we both had the same one. We said Trey Lance. I'll give my reason and you give your reason. My reason is I think 49ers and Garoppolo will both have a lot of success next season. I think they could be one of the teams that goes from, I forget how many wins they had, but they could definitely go over 500 and get a wild card spot. So I don't think Trey Lance, there will be a need for him. I think next year when maybe they try to trade Garoppolo or he leaves, I forget his contract, but then we'll see Trey Lance. But I don't think you'll see Trey Lance start the season because of the amount of success that the 49ers will have. I mean, we can't forget this defense is elite, top 2, top 3 when healthy. So that's fine. They got Brandon Ayuk. They got Mostert, Kittle. Can't forget about Kittle. Like Garoppolo really just needs to put it on, like just put it anywhere in Kittle's vicinity,
Yeah,
and he's going to be fine. So
right.
I think barring any injuries to Garoppolo into this defense, I don't see Trey Lance. I don't see them having a need to start him.
Wow. I'm surprised that you don't have him starting until, the next season. So I think he's going to start this season, but I do think he's going to be the last of the first round quarterbacks to start. I think he's going to start week 7, whether that's because Jimmy G gets hurt or he's not performing well. I think it's most likely because he's going to get hurt. Now, Jimmy G has never, I don't even think he's gone a full season without missing a game. And guess what? We just expanding the season to 17 games. So he's not going to last 17 games. Trey Lance is going to have to play, going to have to start a game because Garoppolo is going to get hurt. And I think it's going to be week 7 when he's ready to play. Now, like you said, they have great weapons. They have Ayuk, they have Kittle, they have Deebo Samuel, Mostert. They just got Trey Sermon in the 3rd round. So I think they're set up for success. They're definitely going to be above 500. And I think we're all super excited to see Trey Lance because this is going to be a different offense with Lance as it is with Garoppolo. Garoppolo's a pocket guy. He's not going to be on the run. With Trey Lance, you could get those design rollouts. And I think by week 7, Kyle Shanahan is going to be ready to take the next step, whether it's because of an injury to Jimmy G or just because they want to reinvigorate this offense. I think Trey Lance is going to start by week 7, and he's going to have a good amount of success.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Predictions start to come out right now. My Offensive Rookie of the Year is Zach Wilson, quarterback for the New
Ooh.
York Jets.
I need to hear the reasoning for this.
Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Perryman, Elijah Moore. That's a tough list.
It's definitely good. It's good
So
enough.
plenty of weapons to succeed. He's going to start right away. But I think, in my opinion, it's going to be between Lawrence and Wilson,
Okay.
in my opinion, just because last year was between Burrow, Herbert. When you have those two quarterbacks in the top 5, top 10, then it's going to be between them because they're going to start the most.
Right.
And Wilson's stats, if he is who he says he is and who the Jets think he is, he should be able to put up monster numbers passing, but also running the ball.
Yep.
So with that type of receiving core, and they also got him a little bit of help on the offensive line, I think there's no reason why he should not succeed to the fullest this year.
That's a great pick. I think we're all intrigued to see. I think I was telling this to you earlier. The most intriguing division to me is the AFC East, where the Dolphins just had a great draft. The Jets, I think, won the draft. Patriots getting Mac Jones, and then the Bills, who won the division last year. That's going to be such an interesting draft or a division to watch. But my offensive rookie of the year is easy. Like you said, last year it was between Burrow and Herbert. And then we had Justin Jefferson, who put up a great rookie year as a wide receiver, but he wasn't even talked about in the MVP conversation. I mean, a little bit, but we knew it was going to be between one of the quarterbacks. So it does make sense that it's probably going to be between Lawrence and Wilson, but I don't think that's the case this year. I think the offensive rookie of the year is going to be who I think is the best player in the draft. You guys have heard me talk about this guy all show, all season. I love Jamar Chase. I think he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I think he's going to put up better numbers than Justin Jefferson did last year. Jefferson had 88
No,
catches,
he broke
88
records.
catches, 1,400 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I think Chase is going to have probably around the same amount of catches, maybe 85, a little less than Jefferson. I think he's going to have maybe 1,200 to 1,300 yards, so a little bit less than Jefferson had. But the touchdowns is where it's going to make the difference. I think Jamar Chase is going to have at least 12 touchdowns this upcoming year. He's going to make such an impact on this Bengals team. He's going to be the number one wide receiver right when he steps foot into that locker room. And him and Burrow are going to reunite and just light it up. I think he's going to end with 85 catches, 1,300 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And he's going to be a great fantasy player. And I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
So my counter would be, Jefferson last year only had to compete with Thielen, and I believe Thielen was injured for quite a while. So then that put Jefferson at the number one.
Mm-hmm.
But with Bengals, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon's going to be a great receiver in the backfield. Could he get buried under that, or do you think right away they're gonna go to him?
I think initially he's going to get a little buried because, like you said, T. Higgins knows this offense better. Tyler Boyd knows this offense better.
Mm-hmm.
But once we see in weeks 3, 4, 5, when Burrow is under pressure, who's the guy he's going to look to? It's going to be Chase. It's going to be the guy he's comfortable with. He has the instinct of where he's going to be on the field. He knows how fast he is, how he comes off of breaks. So who's his check down blanket? Who's his safety blanket? It's going to be Chase. So I'm super excited to see it.
All right. I'm not going to argue with Jamar Chase, best player in the draft. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I believe we have the same player again.
We do have the same player. I don't think it's one that people are expecting, though. I think it's a little different.
J.C. Horn, cornerback, Carolina Panthers. So I was excited for J.C. Horn to come on to the Chargers. Unfortunately, the Panthers scooped him up. And the main reason I think that J.C. Horn will be Defensive Player of the Year is because of how Jeremy Chin performed last year. He was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year, and he took a giant step, basically starting right away, and had all the minutes basically. So I think J.C. Horn's going to be that guy. He's going to be the primary corner. I think he'll be on the field 90% of the time, and he's a lockdown corner. Like, you can't really say too much about it. Like, he has no bad qualities. So anybody that he covers, he's going to lock down. And with Jeremy Chin behind you at safety, no one's going to want to throw deep over him.
Right.
So it's going to be all on J.C. Horn to try and perform and lock down in man-to-man. So I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. When you watch his highlights, he's such a good cover corner, press guy. He's just so physical. He loves to come up and make tackles on guys. He loves to jump routes, and he's going to have his hands all over you. and he's going to be a shutdown guy. And when you look at Carolina, remember, 6-7 years ago, Josh Norman, remember he was leading the league in interceptions on the Carolina Panthers. He was the shutdown corner. Then he left. He went to another team, and James Bradbury comes in, and he's their shutdown corner. Now he goes to the Giants, and Carolina gets J.C. Horn. So I don't know what it is about Carolina. Maybe they have a great cornerback coach or secondary
Maybe.
coach, but they know how to coach these guys up. And it's not going to be hard to coach up J.C. Horn because he's already a great player out of South Carolina. And we're both super excited to watch him play. I don't think he's going to be the league leader in interceptions, but he's going to make so many pass breakups and make such an impact when you watch the games, just like Jeremy Chin did in the secondary. He didn't have a lot of interceptions, but he made such impact plays and really made a difference to their defense when he was healthy. So like you, I'm super excited to watch J.C. Horn.
Which rookie will have the biggest impact in fantasy? The moment you've been waiting for, the fantasy football predictions are starting right now, months and months before the season actually starts. Which rookie will have the biggest impact in fantasy? Now, mine is Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama.
Love that pick.
Went to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Great pick.
So James Conner went to the Cardinals, and the only guy he's really competing with is Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland. Yeah, Anthony McFarland. I don't think talent-wise they're on the same level as Najee Harris. This guy is unreal. He honestly can do it all. Hurdle over anyone, truck anybody. He can catch the ball in the backfield. That's what I wanted to emphasize here. 425 yards, 4 touchdowns receiving for Najee. So he's very familiar with receiving the ball in the backfield. Now, I hope that is a plan that the Steelers can implement in, because that's something James Conner couldn't do. So when you have a talented first-round draft pick like Najee Harris, you need to use him as many ways as possible, because he's going to be your most talented guy on the field. So using him receiving on top of using him in goal line scenarios, I think could just stack up fantasy points throughout the season. And he could be averaging 20 points, 25 fantasy points a game. And with a running back room that's not as talented, I would hope he would get majority of the rushes and playing time. So, and they drafted offensive linemen. They did address a little bit of it. That's my one worry. If there was someone to counter it, is that offensive line is dookie. They lost Villanueva. So they drafted a couple linemen, but who knows if they're starting caliber. So that's my only worry is Najee is going to be going from an Alabama offensive line to one of the bottom offensive lines in the NFL. We'll see how he reacts to it. I think he will react well because he's so elusive, and I mean, no one can overlook that hurdling ability. Like he's just so elusive, so powerful. Like he's kind of like a smaller Ezekiel Elliott. Like he's not as built, but he's definitely as physical and can definitely truck anyone over.
Oh yeah. I love that pick. Great pick. He was actually my number 2 fantasy impact player. And I think you hit it right on the head, because he's going to have those moments on the goal line where he's going to just punch it in. How many times did they give it to James Conner and he couldn't punch it in? And then they gave it to Benny Snell and he couldn't do it. And then they're like, oh, McFarland. And then they're like, all right, we're done doing that. We're just going to throw it to Chase Claypool short and he's going to just run right in. So I think he's going to lead. He's going to be top 5 in the league in rushing touchdowns. Last year, Henry had 17, Kamara 16, Cook 16, and then the next was 12 with Josh Jacobs. I think Najee Harris is going to have 14 rushing touchdowns. Very bold. I think he's going to be in the top 5 in the league. Now, his rushing yards, I don't expect to be in the top 5 or maybe even top 10 in the league. The one reason being because of that offensive line. It's not very good. We're going to have to see how that shakes out. And another reason is because out of all his carries at Alabama, how many carries did he have? Hundreds, almost thousands maybe. he only had 2 rushes over 40 yards. So he's not a guy that's going to break it long. He's fast and physical, but it's interesting. He just doesn't have that breakout ability. So I
He's
think he's
like
going to.
he's explosive, but it's like, someone running 100-meter dash and like a 400-meter. Like he's not going to run the 400-meter. He's going to run that 100-meter really fast and then
Right.
kind of gas out.
Exactly. So I think that's where he's going to be so valuable. You guys will see your fantasy points going up by 6 points because he'll be getting into the end zone so much.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of fantasy, my number one fantasy impact player, I think everybody who's listening now can guess it at this point. Jamar Chase is going to be the number one fantasy impact player as a rookie. I'm drafting him. I'd be comfortable drafting him with my second or third round pick in fantasy if I'm in a 10, 12 person league. I think he's going to be that good. So I don't think there's much more for me to say about Jamar Chase, but I would like to ask you, if it wasn't Jamar Chase or Najee Harris, who else would it be? Are there any other guys? Are there any of these quarterbacks that are catching your eye? Are there any of these, tight ends that are catching your eye? Give me another guy or maybe it's a defense player that could really help their defense. Who else is catching your eye in terms of fantasy?
I do really like Zach Wilson. I think everything is set up for him to
Mm-hmm.
succeed and have a big, big season, similar to Herbert. Um, Wilson doesn't have as long of an arm as Herbert. I think a lot of Herbert's points were, 40, 50-yard completions.
Yeah,
And I don't know if Wilson can do that. Plus, Keenan Allen and Herbert were like the duo last year. So Zach Wilson doesn't have a Keenan Allen wide receiver.
right.
But if I had to pick somebody, I'm not going to say a running back. Um, I think Nico Collins. And I'm
uh,
gonna no, I'll be honest.
that's
It
not all that bad, I
it's
guess.
I am biased because I'm a Michigan fan, but the situation that he went into, he may not have the best quarterback throwing to him, but who else is competing for receiver there? Not
Right.
many. Like I literally don't know. Like Cutie.
Literally, Brandon Cooks is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Will Fuller left, and then you have Kiki Cutie, but he plays in the slot. Nico Collins is clearly an outside
Clearly.
receiver.
So I see Collins when he was at Michigan, we would use him for 30 plus yard passes and going into the end zone.
Yeah,
So if you're looking for a huge target when you're in the red zone, 30-yard line, 40-yard line, like, and you're going to throw it up, Will Fuller's not there anymore. So I think Collins can be that guy because he's so big. He's almost 6'5". He's like 6'4" and 3/4, huge, and can really reel the ball in. Like he has great hands for a
yeah,
big guy. Um, he could honestly play tight end if he wanted to, but the situation that he's going into, Cooks is going to be getting a lot of the attention. Cutie had a good year last year. They may get some attention. So I don't think it's well known that Collins is a deep threat and also a red zone threat. And
right.
I hope they just throw him in right away because the season's already lost. You might as well start developing these picks right away. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the only thing Nico struggles with is explosiveness off the line. He's
Hmm.
so big and he's not, it takes him a while for him to get up to full speed. And, he doesn't need to be a speedy guy. He's giant. He's going to reach over that cornerback who's 5'9" and just moss over him every time.
Right.
So he doesn't need to be fast, but that's something that he could work on is explosiveness off the line. But Nico Collins, very sleeper pick. That's you know probably bench guy. I wouldn't pick him off the straight off the draft,
No.
but if you see him like Chase Claypool, like you see him have a big
Right.
game, just know that I said it
Yeah.
in freaking May. So
Yeah.
know to pick him up as soon as he has that big game. Boom, just get him right off the
Yeah,
bat
because
because
the volume is going to be high
the
because
volume's gonna be very high.
they're going
There's
to be
no running
trailing.
back.
They're going to be trailing every game. They have no run game.
Mhm.
They're going to be losing every game. So and they have no other receivers. So he's going to get a lot of targets.
Yep. All the attention will be on Cooks.
Yeah,
So no one's gonna know about Collins until like his third or fourth game, like his pop off game,
yeah,
like Claypool did.
exactly. And I want to mention one last guy before we end it. One guy I think taken in the second round that could have a big fantasy impact. Not somebody you can draft on your team, but somebody that'll help a defense. And his name is Christian Barmore from Alabama. Now, he slipped into the second round. A lot of people had him going top 20. The Patriots ended up trading up to number 6 pick in the second round to get Christian Barmore, defensive tackle from Alabama. And then later in the third round, they get Ronnie Perkins, defensive end from Oklahoma. So they're addressing that defensive line. But I think Christian Barmore helping that defensive line. We talked about last year, the Patriots had a lot of guys opt out. They had Patrick Chung opt out. They had Donta Hightower opt out. Now, those two guys come back. Not only do you get those guys back, but remember last year, J.C. Jackson was a rookie cornerback, and we were all talking, oh, he gets beat on every play. But he developed as the season went on. He ended up leading the league or tying for the league lead in interceptions. So you got J.C. Jackson, you got Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung back on the safety. You still have Gilmore, even though we think he's going to be leaving. You have Kyle Duggar, Jonathan Jones at corner. You got Kyle Van Noy back from the Dolphins. You got Chase Winovich still at linebacker. You still got Donta Hightower rushing. You just picked up Matt Judon from Baltimore. You got Barmore now on the inside. I mean, guys, this is going to be, anybody who's listening right now, I'm giving you a gift. I'm telling you, the Patriots, this is a way, 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 way early prediction, bold prediction. The Patriots defense is going to be the best defense in the league next year in terms of points allowed. It's going to be the number one team in defense in turnovers. It's going to be the number one fantasy defense in terms of scoring points. This AFC East better watch their backs because this Patriots defense, I can't talk for the offense, but this defense is going to be as good as the Legion of Boom. People are going to be talking like, wow, Bill Belichick has it all figured out. This defense is amazing. I'm telling you guys, this is going to be one of the best defenses we've seen in the last 10 years. And I know that's crazy to say. It's going to be so good. Record number of pressures, record number of sacks, record number of turnovers, record number of points. I'm sorry to say it, anybody who doesn't like the Patriots, but it's going to be very, very scary to play against them next year.
Well, you know what this calls for? A divisional predictions podcast.
Oh my gosh. All right. So how about this? When the schedule release comes out, May 12th, a week from tomorrow, well, we're filming this on the 4th. So a week from tomorrow, the schedule is going to come out. Then I will be prepared to see, because I made this mistake last year. I said the Baltimore Ravens wouldn't win their division, which they ended up not winning, but I didn't think they were going to be that good. And then they had like the easiest schedule out of anybody. So let's wait to see what the schedule happens, and we'll have a schedule release podcast because I can't wait to talk about, there's going to be some really, really good games. I think Brady's going to be playing Belichick. We're going to see Mahomes and Rodgers play. So
all right,
can't wait.
I'm 100% for it. Hopefully we can get the guys back and we can have a full cast on hand to try and talk more Eagles and Cowboys. We didn't talk about them enough.
Yeah.
I don't think. Our fans are like, the heck, why aren't we talking about the Cowboys 24/7 or Jalen Hurts 24/7?
Yeah.
But all right, guys, that's gonna do it for our draft reactions podcast. If you liked it, leave a like, comment down below any disagreements that you have. If you think the Broncos won the draft, you can try to convince me. But anything we missed, any big players, any sleeper players, comment them down below. We want to see them. And we will see you guys Well, around May 12th, when the schedule comes out, we'll have a divisional prediction slash schedule reaction to the schedule coming out. And yeah, we will see you guys then. So thank you guys.